I'm Tony Vallon. This is the Tremendine Report. You know, with all this talk about Russian hackers, et cetera, and data insecurity, I thought it would be a good time to have Denver Abernathy. Denver is the president of Prometheus Consulting, long-standing computer IT support company here in Indianapolis. And if anyone knows how to get ourselves safe and secure, it's Denver. Denver, with all the talk in the news these days about, quote unquote, Russian hackers, et cetera, it seems that people are rightfully so a little bit nervous about their security. And I wanted to take just a minute to pick your brain and just talk about what should people be thinking about if they're managing a computer network. What do they need to be doing just in case something happens?
Well, I think first of all, people should probably not be so concerned about is it a Russian hacker or is it some uh, domestic hacker. It's all the same uh, kind of a sickness we have there. So we've we've been dealing with security issues for decades, and really ever since the advent of the internet, hacking has been a big problem. And so I believe that people should be concerned, but no more so really than what they have before, especially if they've taken some steps to protect themselves. Um, the protection that we're talking about, of course, if you have an on-premises network, you have to make sure that you have generally hardware type firewalls. You need to have most of the time you're going to want your staff to be trained up on what is a dangerous kind of an email and um, what to be aware of. Never share your passwords, and those are the things that we've been talking about for years and years. And then on the actual network side, you're going to need good backups. You're going to have antivirus controls and things like that. These are all basic securities that we've had for a long time, and you just need to make sure that they're up to date and that they are actually in place.
Denver, along the lines of what we might call disaster recovery, I know it's a common practice at Prometheus to do test restores just to prove that the disaster recovery plan is working and it's going to work when needed. Is this something that IT departments can kind of overlook? Maybe they think their setup is working, but they're not testing it regularly.
Yes, that's a very common problem. A lot of times when we receive a call from a potential customer, that's the reason, with a provider that forgot to do sample restores of their data, or in some cases just uh, maybe even did restores but didn't do a full disaster recovery scenario. Because sometimes you can have a backup of data and then realize that uh, when you're actually in a disaster and you're trying to restore that data, you realize that the data itself isn't sufficient to restore back to where you were before the attack. So that's very common, and it's something that has to be done. And you can get very sophisticated with it. I think at the base level, though, you really just on a very regular basis, monthly or quarterly, you need to be restoring random files, making sure that you actually have the data, and then maybe once a year do a full disaster recovery to make sure that I can spin up the server and I can make the database work, and those sorts of things.
Makes sense. Maybe we can transition into talking about, the term that's in my head right now is the easy button. I know Prometheus has a solution that is kind of like the easy button for this whole idea of disaster recovery solution we call VDesk. Can you talk a little bit about, why this is why the time is kind of right now to be implementing a technology like VDesk?
I think cloud computing has been around for a long time, and what VDesk does is bring the desktop to the cloud. And the desktop is kind of the last step for most companies to take to the cloud. Um, Servers have been in the cloud for a long time. Backups have been in the cloud. Emails and then ERP systems, any kind of shared databases. Those things have been in the cloud for a long time, but the desktop has always remained on premises. And so that has been kind of a weak point for computing. It's also not very efficient to have the desktop local and then all of your documents and files to be in the cloud. So even with just convenience, VDesk is a great tool. It's a great step to take to get back to kind of an efficient way to compute. These days, with the security concerns that we've been seeing, and our government has been warning about Russian hackers and so forth, we definitely want to take security into account, and that is a great way to do that. If you can take your desktop to the cloud, keep all of your files contained into a secure network with on a network that can really afford the infrastructure. You have a kind of a shared infrastructure so that you can have the same security that a Fortune 100 company can have. So I think now more than ever, especially with the ransomware attacks that we've been seeing over the last several years, it's really important to be able to recover quickly and to have that added security to prevent the hack in the first place.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I think there's people are on edge, and as you said, there's so much in the news these days that is making people doubt their security solutions. So hopefully this can go a little ways in keep allowing people to sleep at night. Certainly, if anyone wants to check into Prometheus Consulting and the VDesk solution further, Prometheus.com is the place to do that. Denver, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.